And it is about a man who was very, very unlucky. So unlucky that he would never buy a raffle ticket. No point in him entering a lottery or anything like that at all. In fact, he was so unlucky, he even got letters from Reader's Digest saying, "You haven't been entered into the prize draw." And if you understand that, then you know how unlucky that was. And what made it even worse, he wasn't just unlucky, but he told everyone how unlucky he was all the time. He just kept on going on and on and on about how unlucky he was, what bad luck he had. And all his friends got absolutely fed up with him. And in the end, they put their heads together and they persuaded him. They said, "Look, at the end of the world, there's an oracle. Go off to the oracle and ask what you can do to change your luck, or to find your luck, get lucky." He said, "Well, no, I won't do that. No point in me doing that. I'd get lost on the way. You know what I'm like. I'd never get there. If I did find it, it would be closed or broken down, or it would be offline or something like that. There's no point in me going." But they persuaded him, and in the end, he set off to find the oracle and try and find his luck. And he walked for a day, he walked for a week, he walked for a month, he walked for a year, he walked for a year and a day, and he didn't get to the oracle, but he did meet a wolf walking around in the forest. And as they do in stories, Wolf spoke to him and said, "Hello, who are you? Where are you going?" And he went into the long rigmarole about how he was so unlucky he was going off to the oracle at the end of the world to try and change his luck. And the wolf said to him, "Well, I'm unlucky too. So if you do get to the oracle and you do ask it about luck, ask it what I can do to change my luck as well." So he said he would. Off he went, walked for a day, walked for a week, walked for a month, walked for a year and a day. And he came to a clearing in the middle of the forest. Great big trees growing round it, huge, great tall trees, covered in leaves. But in the middle of this clearing was one little stunted shrub, bonsai tree, it looked like that, with about 3 leaves on it, which fluttered down to the ground as he walked across the clearing. And the tree gave a sigh and said, "Oh, who are you? What are you doing? Come in here, shaking the leaves off. The energy I've put into growing those leaves, and you come here and you shake them off. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm terribly sorry. Everything I do, it always goes wrong. I'm terribly unlucky, blah, 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 blah." And he said, "I'm off to the oracle at the end of the world to try and change my luck." So the tree said to him, "Well, if you get to the oracle, can you ask it for me as well then? Why are all those other trees so tall and straight and covered in leaves, and I'm so little and stunted and short? Ask it what's wrong with me, what I can do." So he said he would. And he went on his way. And he walked for a day, he walked for a week, he walked for a month, he walked for a year, he walked for a year and a day. Still didn't get to the oracle, but he did come across a little cottage. One of those typical perfect little English cottages that you find on calendars and in diaries and things like that. Black and white wood walls, thatched roof, roses growing over the door, smoke coming out the chimney, a lovely garden round it with vegetable and flowers growing in it. And as he approached the house, the front door opened, and the most gorgeous young woman he'd ever seen in his life came running out and greeted him, gave him a big hug, made him welcome, said, "Come in." And she dished him up a meal, one of the best meals he'd ever eaten in his life. And during the course of the meal, they were talking, and he explained to her about how unlucky he was, and he was off to the oracle. And she said, "Oh, that's good, that's interesting, because I'm unlucky too." And he said he couldn't believe it. "You can't be unlucky. You're absolutely gorgeous looking, and you live in this lovely house, you're a brilliant cook, you can't possibly be unlucky." And she explained that she was, because the thing she most wanted in the whole wide world was to meet a young man and fall in love and get married and have 2.4 children and live happily ever after. But it just never happened. So he said he'd ask the oracle for her as well. And he went on his way. He walked for a day, he walked for a week, he walked for a month, he walked for a year, he walked for a year and a day, and he got to the oracle. and it wasn't closed, it wasn't out of order, and he went to the oracle and he spoke to it and he asked it for himself, and he said, oh, I've got to ask you for a wolf and a tree and a young woman as well. And the oracle gave him the answers to give to them, and he turned round feeling much happier. The oracle had told him he did have some luck. He wasn't absolutely devoid of luck, he had it. It was just a case of seeing it when it came along, grasping the opportunities. So he turned round and made his way back the one way he'd come. And he felt his luck had changed already, because he didn't get lost. He found his way back to the cottage. And as he approached it, the door opened, and out she came, and she, running out, greeted him again, gave him a big hug and a kiss, invited him in, sat him down, gave him another meal, which was even better than the one before, if that is possible. And during the course of the meal, she asked him, have you found your luck? Have you got some luck? And he explained that, yes, the oracle had told him he did have some luck. It was just a case of grasping the opportunity when it arose. And she said, well, I hope you do get what you deserve soon. Did you remember to ask it for me? And he said, oh, yeah, your answer wasn't too difficult at all. It's no good you sitting here and waiting for a young man to come along and propose. You've got to do the proposing. Next time a young man comes along, don't wait for him to ask you to marry him. You do the asking. She said, yeah, but that's the trouble. No one comes. There hasn't been anyone here since you came here. I don't suppose you'd marry me, would you? She said. Oh, no, I haven't got time to marry you, he said. I've got to go off and find my luck. So off he went. Walked for a day, walked for a week, walked for a month, walked for a year and a day. Came to the clearing in the middle of the wood. There was the little tree, a couple of leaves on it to grow, shuttled down to the ground. Oh, you again, said the tree. I suppose you haven't found your luck yet, have you? Oh, no, he said, but I know I've got some now. It's just a case of seizing it when it comes along. Did you remember to ask it for me? He said. Oh, yes, I asked you for you. All those other trees, they grow tall and straight because their roots go right down into the ground and suck up all the nutrients for the soil. But where you're growing, there's some obstruction under the ground, so your roots can't go very far into the ground. If you could just get that out, it might be a big boulder, a rock or something. On the other hand, it might be an old treasure chest that someone's buried. If you could get that out of the way, then you could grow as tall and straight as all these other trees. Oh, that's good, said the tree. I don't suppose you'd dig it up for me, would you? Oh, I haven't got time to go digging up old treasure chests, he said. I've got to go off and find my luck. So off he went. Walked for a day, walked for a month, walked for a year and a day, till he bumped into the wolf, walking around in the forest, even skinnier and scrawnier than ever, just about had strength to put one foot in front of the other. Oh, have you found your luck yet? Said the wolf. No, but I feel it in my bones. I'm going to find it very soon, he said. Well, I wish you luck, said the wolf, if that's not a strange thing to say to someone who's looking for their luck, but I hope you do find it. Did you remember to ask it for me? Oh, yeah, he said. Your problem, easily solved. You can sum it all up in one word. Malnutrition. All your problems stem from the fact you don't eat enough. Next time you meet a traveller walking around in the forest, don't indulge in conversation. Just eat him up. So it did. End of story.